Hello, chess friends, and welcome to Jozarov chess channel, and welcome to really one of the sickest games that I've seen in my life. It's a gameplay between Stockfish 13 against Lila C0 from a super match that they're playing now. They're playing really many games in this irregular opening, so they're not playing good openings. They're basically inviting its opponent to have really an advantage from an early stage of the game. They're playing this drop openings like G4. They're maybe opening with the move A6 as black and similar ideas. So from an early stage of the game, one engine has a huge advantage, and then the opponent is trying to basically get a draw from a bad opening line. But what really wild happened, it was one game played by Stockfish against Lila C0, in which Stockfish opened with the move H3, which is really not the best ways to open the position. You have to play maybe something like E4, D4, C4, knight to F3, even G3 would be a possibility, but not H3. When you play H3, basically you're saying almost that black is playing almost like white, and that's why I decided to show you this game. But not that only Stockfish won this game, it was really a sick attack again by this fish. It was really so brutal. Be prepared, put your seatbelts on, as I always like to say. This is really something else. So let's check out now the game. Here H3 played by Stockfish. So this was pre-arranged. From this point on, the engines are calculating this position for themselves. So here E5 played by Lila C0. We have E4. So it's almost like a Rui Lopez, maybe Italian game preparation, but with the move H3. And in the game, Lila C0 attacks immediately. Knight to F6. We have knight to F3, and now D5 by Lila C0. The engine at home doesn't like this move. The engine loves this continuation. It's almost like in this Petrov defense when we simply trading off the pawns in the center. Knight to E4, maybe D3, and then it will be sort of a reversed Petrov defense here from White's perspective, playable maybe for both sides. But Lila went into a more aggressive line with the move D5. In the game, Stockfish took E takes D5, and now the game becomes already really wild. After move E4, Stockfish plays knight to E5, queen to D5, D4, necessary move because you don't have good squares for your knight. After the move D4, the knight is cemented, and here Lila C0 takes. He takes d3 en passant, knight to d3, and now knight to c6. Knight to c3, of course, developing the knight, attacking also the queen, getting an extra tempo. Here, queen to a5 was played, bishop to e2. So you see both of these engines are trying to play on a fast developing style because we have now an open center position, and you know how Stockfish loves open center positions. Whenever the center is opened, Stockfish, I think, is really the most brutal chess engine that I've seen in my life. Now the position is already wild. You see the knights are centralized, the bishop will come into the game, and what happened actually here is really great. The engines castled on opposite sides. Whenever we see this opposite side attack games by these engines, it's really brutal. Here, after the move bishop to e2, bishop to d7, castling, and queenside castling. So far, as said, no one has really a decisive advantage. Of course, white is maybe now even slightly faster in the development because the queen still has to move somewhere, because the queen is still a little bit endangered here on a5. The queen could be endangered with bishop to d2, maybe some discovery attacks with the knight and similar ideas. So in the game, bishop to e3 played by Stockfish. Knight to d5 could happen. Of course, it's not so good. Knight takes d5, queen to d5. Then of course more pieces are traded off. In the game, Lila C0 tried queen to f5. If you try here g5, I've analyzed now this line because whenever we have this opposite side attack games, you want to be simply faster on the attack. You want to attack faster simply your opponent's king. After move g5, that was the line that I was very interested in what will happen after move g5. Basically, white is counter attacking on the queen side with the move a4, and now queen to f5 could happen, bishop to f3, and now after g4, h takes g4, knight to g4, bishop to f4. I think white has solved all of the positional problems. You cannot play here the move queen to h5 because you get simply knight to b5. It's very risky with some ideas of bishop takes f3 followed with here knight to a7. Also, you see this c7 is a weakness. So far, black cannot attack the position immediately with this g5 attack. In the game, queen to f5. played by Lila C0. Lila tried now to support further the position, tries to get the queen on a more natural square. Now we could also target something like H5, then G5, maybe then afterward G4. But here in the game, Stockfish plays again also on this opposite side attack game with the move A4, and now the fun really starts. After the move A6, we have bishop to F3, bishop to D6. So you see Lila C0 is getting also the pieces out. And pause the video maybe and try to, maybe not to see the best move now, but try to guess the next move by Stockfish here. It's really wild. It's such a brutal attack from this point on. It seems so that black didn't make any mistakes, because here black has a great development with the bishops. Black has the very nice control of the center with both of these knights. Both of these knights are on natural squares. The queen is centralized. So in my opinion, I thought that here black is perfectly fine, but now comes the stunner. Stockfish goes all in with the move knight to b5. And what you do if you don't react, of course your bishop is hanging, then the knight can also come into the game, then white can make further progress with b4, b5. So in the game, a takes b5 was played, and here after the move a takes b5, queen to b5, and now after the move rook to a8, here you see Stockfish has already very nice attack. Even c4 here, after instead of this rook to a8 was the possibility. That was also one of the lines that my engine at home suggested. Here after move c4, it becomes also really wild, because now after queen to c4 we can take now bishop takes c6, and the problem is now you cannot take with the bishop. That's the main issue here, because you get then rook to a8. This wasn't played in the game, but this was the suggested line by the engine here at home. If you play bishop takes c6, then you have this one, rook to a8, and now the king comes on d7, and now you get a very nice fork on e5. So really thick stuff. So you are forced basically here to play b takes c6, and then the game ends obviously here with the draw, with the perpetual check, rook to a7, then rook to a8, and similar ideas. So but Stockfish found really a brutal way to attack this position with the move rook to a8. Now you have to play knight to b8, and now bishop to a7, attacking the knight. c6 is a forced move, and now really a sick move by Stockfish, knight to c5. Because if you take, of course, here, then if you take, for instance, the bishop here, then you get simply bishop takes b8, and now we're threatening some discoveries. This is already a losing game here for black. We're simply threatening maybe something like bishop to g3, bishop to f4, and it would be checkmate. Even if you liberate this this file here, the queen is covering this file, so it's something that you should resign immediately. So but if you try bishop to f5 here, if you try to create maybe some breathing spaces, this wasn't also played in the game. Here it becomes really wild after move queen to d6. You cannot escape really from this attack. It's so sick what Stockfish has prepared here. Queen to d6 is a really nice sacrifice after rook to d6, which is forced. Now again this idea of bishop to b8, again we're threatening some discovery attacks. You cannot take the knight with the move queen to c5, because simply bishop takes d6 and would simply take out the queen. So you would be forced maybe to play something like king to d8, because the knight is covering this square. You cannot escape on d7. But now again bishop takes d6, again with this discovery attack. You can maybe cover with the move bishop to c8, but now comes really the stunner here, rook to a1. This rook comes also very great into the game, because now after the move knight to e8 we have this stunner, rook to c8, and now after king to c8 we have rook to a8, and again it's game over. So you see how these pieces are getting very active by Stockfish. So as said, knight to c5. So far we have analyzed this line, bishop takes c5 is not working, bishop to f5 or somewhere else is also not working. You get simply a nice an immortal queen sacrifice around the square d6. This is really sick chess. In the game, Lila C0 tried king to c7 to escape from these ideas, but now comes, pardon me, let's go back to this moment, sorry. So here king to c7 was played, and now bishop to e2, simply attacking the queen. In the game, queen to b4 was played again. Here if you try bishop to c5, it's not so good. We'll simply take out the queen. Here maybe after c takes b5, black can continue with 3 minor pieces against the queen, but still this king is endangered. Queen to d3 will happen, maybe with some queen to g3 ideas. Then this rook will come also into the game on the d file, so it's not a good position again for black. It's not one of these positions where black has 3 minor pieces for the queen and the pieces are active. If maybe the king would be more secure, then it could be playable to play with 3 minor pieces against the queen, but not in this position. I think the king is too endangered, the pieces are not so active. Still the activity of white pieces is also great. The king is naked, so that's why it's not still not a good option here for black. So after move bishop to e2, we have queen to b4. Lila c0 is trying to escape with the queen. So see, still white is down a whole piece, but has really great activity. We have c3 kicking away further the queen, and now after queen to f4 again. If you try queen to c5, that's also the suggested line, but the evaluation is +3 here for black. Bishop to c5, bishop takes c5, and now b4 would be an opportunity again, a continuation where now black has 4 minor pieces, white has 1 minor piece and the queen. So again, 3 minor pieces for the queen. Maybe the king here in this particular case is more secured, but still it's a much better position for white. So after move queen to f4, this was the continuation by Lila c0, trying the checkmate on h2. Here Stockfish has to play g3, again kicking away the queen. Queen to e5, and now comes a new stunner. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here by Stockfish. It's really sick what Stockfish is doing in chess. So okay, the best continuation here is this stunner, knight takes b7, and whatever you do, if let's see, if you take king takes b7, this wasn't played in the game, but now queen to b3, and the problem is now you have to take the rook. You cannot bring some other pieces in between. You can bring the bishop, will simply take, and if you bring the queen again will be taken. So you're forced pretty much to take it, because if you don't take it, if you play something like king to c8, will simply take out. Here bishop to a6 is also not a nice opportunity, king to c7, and here queen to b6 is pretty much forced checkmate. So here in the game you would be forced to play king to a8, but now again this rook comes into the game. We have now again this discovered attack possibility, and again it's checkmate. You cannot defend this position, you can only bring the queen in between, but again it's simply losing for black. So after move knight to b7, here bishop to h3 was played by Lila c0. We have knight takes d8, and now rook to d8 was played by Lila c0. If you try something like bishop takes f1, then bishop to b8, that's the best continuation here for white. Again, it's simply losing here for black. Pardon me, I have some technical problems. My other screen went crazy. So after move bishop to b8, there is only one square for the king to d7, because if you take now here this one, then again this comes with the discovered attack, bishop to d6, it's simply losing. So you would be forced to play king to d7, but now comes this idea, knight to f7 with a fork against the rook and the queen. You cannot take the bishop here, because you get simply knight takes e5. You would be forced to play something like I don't know, queen to d5, but still we can play rook to a7, first the check. You're again forced to deflect the queen. The king gets deflected from the defense of the bishop. Here after move king to e8, we have knight to d6, and now after king to f8 we can simply trade off and simply take out the bishop on f1. It's simply losing. So really immortal attack here by Stockfish. As we said, after move knight to d8, rook takes d8 was played, and now bishop to b6, deflecting again the king to b7. If you try here king takes b6, then you get simply again this idea, queen to b3. You have only one square, now a new check. The problem is now the king doesn't have good squares to escape. Again, the king has to move to c8, and you get queen to b7, a checkmate. So that's why here after move bishop to b6, you have to play king to b7, but now rook to a7, the check, king to c8, and now rook to e1, escaping now from this attack. Finally, Lila c0 has some time to maybe regroup, but it's simply too late. The position is much better. Rook to d7 here, queen to a1, rook takes, rook takes queen takes rook, and here after the move knight to e4 we have now bishop to a6, knight takes a6, queen to a6, and now after king to d7, queen to b7. This is pretty much a bad game here for black, because again black has two minor pieces for the rook, but again the king is simply too much endangered here. After move king to e6 we have now bishop to d4 attacking the queen. The queen has to move in. Now you see that was part of Stockfish calculations, this idea, this x-ray attack here, because you have to move the king, and Stockfish managed to grab now another piece, and from this point on it's of course a theoretical win here for white. After move queen to h3, king to d8, bishop to b6, here simply attacking also the knight on e4. Here Lila C0 took, but also Stockfish has now the opportunity to take out the knight, and after trades of pieces, after trades of queen around the square e4, this is now completely winning endgame. Let's see now this endgame. It was an easy win for Stockfish. Stockfish simply moved the rook here, king to e2, rook to b4, here rook to b7, and here Stockfish found a great way how to simplify the position. Rook takes c7 still with this extra pawn. It's completely winning endgame. Rook king to e5. Now the king is moving here. Stockfish took another pawn. Here simply push the pawn further, and here king to c2. Good. And here simply moving the king. And it was here in move 63 in which Lila C0 got checkmated. So really wild stuff. You saw h3 simply playing a dubious opening, and then Stockfish pulls off this immortal attack. Let's go back to this critical moment. Really wild stuff. So knight to b5. Attacking this position immediately just in order to open the a file. That's also many times the problem of this queenside castling idea. When you don't secure the king further with the move king to b8, you have to have also always to consider these options of an attack on the a file. Also when white castles on the queen side, you see many times that after the move queenside castling, white or black is moving still the king to b1 or to b8 just in order to secure the king further. Knight to b5 was really a stunner. Let's go back again here. A takes b5, a takes b5, queen to b5 here, and now the fun starts. So knight to c5, here bishop to e2, queen to c5, c3, queen to f4, g3. This stunner, knight takes b7, really wild stuff. Bishop to h3, knight takes d8, rook takes bishop here. Really wild attack. And now the queen comes into the game. From this point on, as we said, it was game over. So here this was bishop to d4, and now queen to c8. This was this theoretical position, theoretical win here for white. Again, an immortal attack by the fish. I hope you enjoyed this game, because I really enjoyed it. And as I saw this game, I watched many games from this tournament, but I couldn't find really a great game. I think this was the best game so far from the super match. h3, really dubious opening, and Stockfish brutalized Lila C0 with some beautiful tactics. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more brutal attacks like this, check out my commented chess games played by computer series. Here's the link. And if you maybe want to see humans battling in their best chess games, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's also the link. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.